Hello and welcome back to the Charles Squared podcast. My name is Charlie Mason.
And I'm Charles Iverson. Welcome back, everybody.
So today we're going to be doing a recap of the season finale of WandaVision. A lot happened and we've got some predictions, some speculations, and we're excited to get into it. So Charles, you want to start us off?
So this was an amazing finale. I could legitimately see this series winning a bunch of Emmys this year. You wouldn't expect such a perfect finale from a Marvel TV show. I think this is probably Marvel's best TV show that they've done, probably because it's, I believe, the first produced by Kevin Feige, who is in charge of the entire MCU. And I love how they managed to connect it to the wider MCU, but still make a really satisfying conclusion to this journey.
You know, they kind of had an emotional draw throughout this whole season, this whole production of WandaVision. They built the relationship, the backstory of some of our favorite characters, some new leaders in what some are starting to call the new Avengers. So I'm excited to see where they go from here. Let's get right into the episode. So I want to start with Wanda's future. What does all this have to do? The build, the climax of this incredible 9 episode season. Charles?
I feel like this series has pretty much been the origin story of the Scarlet Witch. Prior to this, there were people calling her the Scarlet Witch, but not in the MCU. She was just known as Wanda or Wanda Maximoff. So I think through this show, she's kind of discovered who she is. I think she was kind of going through this identity crisis, but now she knows she's the Scarlet Witch and she is so much powerful than she thought she was. I mean, we already knew she was powerful. She probably could have killed Thanos in Endgame if she had the chance, but she is even more powerful than that. So I think this show is going to have huge ramifications on the MCU.
And in terms of that post-credit scene, if you didn't catch that, there were 2 post-credit scenes, one that I want to get into a little bit later, and then the second post-credit scene, which was kind of revealing, a little peek into what the future of Wanda's story is going to look like. We see a cabin in the middle of the woods, similar to that of the setting of Tony Stark's, maybe trying to get away.
What it reminded me of is I don't know if you remember, because you probably haven't seen this movie like more than once, if you've even seen it. The Incredible Hulk. Have you seen that?
Yes, yes.
So at the end of the movie, I can't remember if it's the post-credit scene or just at the very end of the movie, you see Bruce is living in a cabin that I feel like is in a very similar destination where it's just wide open. That's what it immediately reminded me of, but I mean that's pretty obscure MCU because it really doesn't impact anything and it's really not a good movie. But anyway.
Sadly, I have seen the movie. um, so we see her in this kind of cabin. She's making tea of some sort. She's making food. And then she walks, or the camera kind of moves and shifts into the other, like the bedroom. And we see her, a different Wanda, apparently, with this book, kind of flipping through the book that Agatha talked to her about, which reveals magic. It's kind of, she's teaching herself and becoming more powerful, which I think was very important, because being a leader in the next in phase 4, phase 5 that's going to be her role. We've seen it
Yes.
before with Tony Stark, and it's happening all over again. Wanda is going to be the next big thing. So
Yes, but will she be the next big good guy or the next big bad guy? Now the ending of the series, the ending
man,
of the series does make it seem like she will be a good guy going forward, but we know that book, The Darkhold, is what Agatha was using for her dark magic. And so the fact that Wanda is using it now, I think, kind of has the potential for her to be a villain.
I feel like Wanda has good intentions. She's an Avenger. She knows that. Earth's mightiest hero. She's not going to use it for evil. I feel like she's using it to better herself so that she knows what's out there. If I'm being
Well,
honest.
hold on. I don't think Agatha intended to use it for evil though initially either. You in that witch trial flashback we see in episode 8, she told her mother before she killed her, "I can be good." So I think everyone who has that book starts out with good intentions, but then it corrupts them. So I think Wanda does have good intentions here, but we hear the voices of Tommy and Billy calling for help, and I think that might be that book trying to trick her, like, hey, your kids are not actually dead. You can bring them back to life, but then it's going to corrupt her somehow through that.
I don't know, man. I think we've hit a roadblock here. I think we're going down different paths.
You're right. You're right.
I feel like I no. I feel I like that's a good like theory. I could see how it could go bad, but I feel like Wanda's doing this because she didn't know magic like this existed before. She wants to get to know it so she can defend herself, defend everybody else, and make sure that this magic doesn't drive the next Thanos-based attack. So a
Yeah,
threat
you're
doesn't
right.
form from this. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
it
is
would be
that is a
interesting.
possibility.
It'd be
I think
interesting if she
both of
turned
us
evil, but
Yeah, I think both of us do have good ideas of what could happen. I think it could go either way, frankly. I mean, I would certainly prefer that she just stay as a hero, just because, I think now that she's so powerful, I think she'd be a really cool hero to watch.
and I
But
don't think I don't think
she could be a compelling villain.
I don't think she did anything that like points to her turning into a villain other than her reading the book. She let everybody go. She didn't realize what she was doing, and now she's learning how she can like never do that again. How to prevent
That's
something like
true.
that from happening. So,
She definitely does not have evil intentions. I
right,
will say that.
that's important, and we definitely saw that in her final interaction with Vision and the boys in that bedroom scene was so touching.
That was an amazing scene. I mean, I couldn't think of a more perfect way for her to have to say goodbye to her children. I mean, just tucking them into bed and them not knowing that they weren't going to be there the next day.
I feel like Bubble Vision, I'm just gonna call him Bubble Vision, really matured as a character. He definitely had him. I don't know. I'm gonna go out there and just say that Vision had more character development, Bubble Vision, in this whole show than Wanda did.
Why do you say that?
I say that because Bubble Vision started off as a figment of Wanda's imagination. He kept growing. Eventually realizing, trying to go outside of the bubble, and then looking past the fact that Wanda had done this terrible thing by creating the bubble, trapping these people in here. Looking past that, helping her get over this, defeat Agatha, save their children, close the bubble, and instead of fighting back or not wanting to die, the final question that he asked is, "What am I?" He wasn't concerned about dying, about the boys dying. He was concerned about morals, ethics. He was able to look past his relationship with Wanda, even though he was happy, even though he knew Wanda could keep the bubble together. He looked past all that, and he grew up as a character. And I know Wanda did a lot of developing too, a lot of developing. Starting in the beginning, she was sad. We saw in episode 7,
Yeah.
kind of the flashback of her losing Vision, having to let go of the kids, having to let go of Bubble
Right.
Vision, learning about all this magic. But at the end of the day, I think Bubble Vision hit audiences the hardest.
Well, yeah, I think I think you bring up some good points there. Yeah, cuz what's great about it is like we find out in the 7th episode, or shoot, I don't know, the 6th episode maybe, that Vision doesn't have any of his Bubble Vision doesn't have any of his memories before the bubble. So I think once he learns in episode 7 that Wanda, like why Wanda was doing this, I think that's when he really did start to grow a lot as a character and start to really understand. And yeah, I think you're right. Within the time period of the show, Bubble Vision did have a lot of character development, probably more than Wanda. But I think most of Wanda's character development from the show really came from the 8th episode when we get to see flashbacks from all over her
Right,
life.
right. And you know, I'm glad that they included a lot of Vision's character development because the show was called WandaVision, even though the end of the season kind of made it seem and feel like it was just Wanda's story. They
Yeah,
definitely included a lot of Vision's story too.
yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it is Wanda's story because I think there's a double meaning to the title WandaVision. Like at the surface, it's like, oh, it's about Wanda and Vision, but also take into account the fact that WandaVision could be kind of a play on words like Wanda television. So yeah, Vision is definitely a huge part of the show. But then like there's also that 8th episode that I don't think he was in at all. I
Right.
think yeah, it's Wanda's show, but Vision is a huge part of it because Vision is a huge part of who Wanda is really when you think about it. I love her line at the end of the 9th episode where she says, "You are the part of the Mind Stone that lives in me." I
Right.
think that's
That
such a
was
cool
I just
line.
got chills. I just got chills. I have to
You're
rewatch
right.
that whole episode again. It was just so good.
Yeah, there was
Um
so much that happened. Actually, while we're talking about Vision's character development, let's talk about White Vision's future in the MCU. So, what I kind of don't get is, it seemed like Bubble Vision kind of transferred his consciousness into White Vision. So, is White Vision now the regular Vision? Because
ooh.
we don't see him for the rest of the episode after that. We don't know what happens to him.
So White Vision, the way I see it, is you know how Wanda, you just talked about how Wanda said that this bubble vision is the version of the Mind Stone that still lives inside of her. I feel like White Vision is everything else. Every other part of Vision that doesn't include Wanda. It's his own sentinel. He's his own sentinel being with no influence from the outside world yet. And I think he's gonna learn that. And I don't think Wanda and him. I don't think him and Wanda are gonna have the same relationship they did before, which is fine.
Yeah,
That's
no, they
fine.
probably won't. However, I think it's important that we remember there's an exchange that happens between the two of them before they say goodbye. I mean, between Wanda and Bubble Vision before they say goodbye, where uh, it's like they say they said goodbye before, so it would be
Maybe we can
reasonable to assume
say,
that they'd
yeah.
say hello again. So I think like you're right. They won't have the same relationship. I think that would be kind of dumb to be quite honest. I mean, maybe they could do a good job with it, but um, I think it will be important for Wanda that like she does see him and interact with him at some point.
And a big part of their relationship too was the fact that Wanda had a connection to the Mind Stone, and Vision happened to be powered by the Mind Stone. That was a big draw
Oh
between
yeah,
them.
and new White Vision does not
He
have the
does
Mind
not have the
Stone.
Mind Stone. So
Yeah.
again, it's going to be different in a lot of ways. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of how White Vision responds to society. We got to see how um, the first Vision kind of learned everything in Age of Ultron. We
Oh
watched him,
yeah.
so I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do and how he's going to learn without the Mind Stone and without Tony
Mhm.
Stark's guidance, maybe without Bruce Banner's guidance, just on his own in the world created by Hayward. So maybe he's still being able, he might still be
Mm,
able to be controlled. That was the whole Bubble Vision and Vision's interaction. White Vision kind of learned that
yeah.
if I don't have this, it makes it easier to be controlled. He learned that, he
Yeah.
realized that, so
I don't think he can be controlled anymore, just because if he still could be controlled, I think he would have continued his mission that he was sent to do by Hayward rather than just flying off. I
Right.
think he is his own thing now, just like Vision was before.
Yeah.
Um,
So next I want to move on. Just a quick question: are Billy and Tommy still alive?
yeah, so I mean, I think I touched upon this a little bit earlier. Like there's that moment in the post-credit scene where you can hear Billy and Tommy's voices while Wanda is doing that weird meditation thing. So I don't know what that indicates exactly. I think it could be the Darkhold tricking her, but maybe they are alive in some form and we will see them again. I thought it made sense that Wanda had to say goodbye to them because obviously they're tied to the bubble just like Vision was. But I also felt like this is kind of a wasted opportunity for Marvel to introduce these two new kid heroes and not do anything with them. So I think it makes sense that they would be alive in some way and they'll come back at some point.
If that doesn't happen, which I completely agree, like I completely hope that that happens, but if it doesn't happen, I think that Marvel did this kind of, they kind of built the same relationship that Wanda had with Bubble Vision, where Bubble Vision was a part of her. These kids are something she's always wanted, always looked forward to, something that she always envisioned for herself, and without Vision might not be possible. So again, they could be just a part of her, a deeper part of her, that lives inside of her, like the Mind Stone does. But you never know, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a really good point. Just like maybe a piece of her brother lives inside of her. And speaking of that, gosh, that segue was kind of awkward. Sorry, but no, okay, yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to bring up here is Pietro, and
You mean Ralph?
Pietro was Ralph. And that's a little bit underwhelming. But not gonna lie, I kind of expected that.
You were
Um,
right.
Yeah,
You
I
win.
mean, I wasn't gonna say anything because honestly, I was hoping you were right that it was real Pietro
Hey,
from the Fox universe.
hey, maybe Agatha did that for a reason. She's meddled in dark magic, so she's probably seen the multiverse and probably assumed or didn't know or was like, hey, real Pietro's dead, so let's just use the fill-in from Universe 3.
Yeah, well, yeah, except for the fact that Ralph is a real person from
No,
Westview.
no, I'm saying like, yeah, he's a real person, but maybe Agatha was like, here, in the other universe, Ralph was actually like this guy who looks like Ralph is
Oh,
actually Pietro.
yeah.
Let's just sub him in.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something like that. I'm pushing for my theory to work, Marvel.
Yeah,
If you're listening to
mean-
this,
Yeah, I think your theory would be right if they didn't confirm that this guy was Ralph. But I mean, so that brings up something else I want to talk about. Another person we were speculating about through this series, who this witness who is in witness protection is, and they didn't give us an answer for that, which I was surprised about. But then again, does it really even matter that much? Like, I think that was kind of just an excuse to get Jimmy Woo there. I don't know.
yeah, Marvel doesn't usually do things for one purpose. It's usually got a lot of every decision that Marvel makes has a lot of weight behind it. So I bet you that the missing persons case was actually something. Maybe they didn't
Yeah,
touch on it now because you know what? No, I was gonna say something about Monica, but I was gonna say maybe it was Monica,
Oh, no.
but
I mean,
maybe
here's the
but again
thing.
maybe it was a false report like I talked about from Hayward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this seems like something they would have wrapped up within this series. It doesn't, because especially since they introduced it so early on in the series, this seems like something they would have wrapped up. So either it wasn't important, I feel like, or they like already answered that and we just like completely missed it. or
The only way I
something.
could see it being more important than us not having to worry about it in the future is if something similar happens in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, a
If
similar
there's a
string of events
theme.
could happen.
If there's a
Yeah,
theme of
that
these missing persons that all come together at the end. That's the only way.
Yeah.
That's really the only way I could see something happening. Other than that, I think for now we put it behind us. We move on. We had an amazing emotional close. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree cuz right now my theory is that it just doesn't matter cuz when you think about it like they were just they called to report a missing person and then they got there and they found out it was a missing town. That's how Jimmy Woo finds out about the whole
right.
case. So I feel like that was probably its only purpose looking back
Maybe.
on
I
it.
hope not, just because I feel like Marvel's more complex than that. It could have been Agatha. You never know. But then again, how did Agatha find out about the town? There are a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
One of those unanswered questions is what was Agatha trying to say to Wanda? That's one of the ones I still have.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Cause like, I don't know what Wanda was thinking there, to be honest. Like, Agatha was trying to say something to her that seemed really important. Like, you don't know what you've unleashed. Wait, hold on. I don't know what the exact
That's
line was.
and that's one of those moments that we saw a lot of in Infinity War. Looking back, where Chris Pratt, my bad, Star Lord, where Star Lord decides to punch Thanos, and we're all like, no, 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 no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't
So
know. That
just
moment I
to
don't have as much of a problem with, just because like he was really angry. Still stupid. Don't get me wrong.
there were
Like,
there, but there were like a lot of things that could have been different. I hope this isn't one of those because I think Wanda's gonna regret not hearing what she has to say. People are at their weakest, or
yeah,
people when they're at their weakest are can be at their most powerful in terms of giving away information, vulnerability.
that's
So
true.
I feel like
I think
Agatha could have said something of importance to Wanda.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna come back to haunt Wanda, and like Wanda's gonna be in a really desperate time somewhere in the future, and she's gonna go back to Westview and ask Agatha what's up, and Agatha's gonna be like, "You should have listened to me." Then they're gonna have to reluctantly team up to fight a
Oh
greater
man, do
evil. I'm
I
guessing.
hope that happens. That would be
I
sick.
mean, I think that's I don't know. To me, that's clearly what they're setting up to happen,
Right.
but maybe not.
But
But
overall though, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, no, you go ahead because I was about to move on.
Oh,
So,
okay. I was going to say overall though, how does this series impact the MCU as a whole?
oh yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's been confirmed or announced a while ago that Wanda will be in Doctor Strange 2, and we now know she's more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, which is Doctor Strange. So, I think he's going to need her power for a really big threat in that movie. And but by the way, I we didn't talk about this yet, but her costume is pretty cool. Her new
Oh,
costume.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
saw
really
that as
hope
her
we get to see
Halloween
that.
costume too, which is
Right,
kind of
but it was
cool.
even cooler when the actual one
Oh, it was
was
sick.
revealed. It
Yeah.
looks so sick. I really hope we get to see that same costume again in Doctor Strange 2, which we probably will. But yeah, anyway, the thing she was doing at in the post credit scene like kind of reminded me of like Doctor Strange, how like he can kind of split off
Right.
into another form. Uh, but I mean, they have very different powers when you think about it. Like they both kind of use magic, but like Doctor Strange's magic looks very different. Like Wanda's is like a red smoke. Uh, I assume because she's a witch, and then because Doctor Strange is a sorcerer, I guess it looks different. Like his is like geometric
Yeah,
shapes and
I'm not
stuff. Like
too familiar on how that all works, but I mean, it is a similar sequence, kind of what they do, but you will have to see. I'm excited for that interaction. Maybe he becomes the guide, the teacher that she was waiting for. We'll see though.
yeah, because even though she has the potential to be more powerful than him, he could probably still teach her a lot because
Right.
he's studied this stuff. But another thing in the future of the MCU that we need to be paying attention to is Monica's future,
Yeah.
because we see in one of the post-credits scenes, the first one, that uh, one of the Sword agents, who is actually a Skrull, wants her to go into space, And I think that it's because she's going to go up to the space station that we see in the post-credits scene in Spider-Man Far From Home and work with Nick Fury.
Wouldn't that be something? That would just be awesome. I think that would be
Yeah.
so cool. So that Monica's story was kind of one of those side stories. We saw it in, we saw
Yeah.
it in The Rise of Skywalker too. Just another comparison with the stormtroopers. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah,
The
it didn't
origin of the
really influence the plot that
No,
much, but it was kind of a nice addition.
exactly. Hers was important to the plot, but I think it's going to be more important to the bigger plot.
Yeah, Monica was important to the plot at the beginning of the series, but then I feel like at the end, like towards the end when she got superpowers, that was more to set up future stuff with her.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be very interesting to see. She's awesome. She is a bad apple.
Yeah,
She's
it's still
cool.
it's still very unclear what her powers are, but I'm excited to find
Right.
out more about that.
And if they work outside the bubble,
Oh, yeah. Well,
we assume they do, but we didn't see her use it outside the bubble. We're not sure yet.
that's a
lot
good
a lot of
point.
unanswered questions.
They probably will work outside the bubble just because, like, they might as well introduce another superhero.
Exactly. So some do you have any? I've got a couple predictions. I know you do too for the future of the MCU as a whole. We've kind of been circling that. WandaVision. I didn't think it was going to be as big of a have as like big of a role as I think it's going to end up having in the long run. When I first heard about the show, but I was pleasantly surprised at how much this show's going to contribute to the MCU. So, Captain Marvel 2, it's said is going to be the kind of Captain America Civil War type movie where it's an Avengers movie, but it's about Captain Marvel. And I think that's where Monica's going to make her big appearance. I don't think we're going to see her until 2022, sadly.
Yeah.
But I think she's gonna have a reunion with
Yeah.
Carol. Hopefully something we see, but I do think that Wanda's gonna have a big impact in Spider-Man. Not a big impact in Spider-Man, but she's definitely gonna have a post-credit scene. I will put it that way. I am predicting right now, on record, that Wanda will be in the post-credit scene. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not Spider-Man. But I bet you we see her in one of the season finales of another TV show or at the end of another movie. Because
Yes.
she's too big of a character right now not to be included.
Yeah, yeah. I actually, for one, do not think your prediction of her appearing in a post-credit scene in Spider-Man No Way Home is that far off from what could possibly be the truth.
What are you saying right now? What?
Sorry, that was a confusing sentence. wasn't it?
Wow. He said,
No.
for once, I don't think you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm
I
just
said
kidding.
for one. I did not say
Oh,
for
oh.
once. I think many of the things you say are accurate. Okay,
Thank you.
so don't even go there.
I thought you said for once, and I was like, what?
Okay, yeah, it was a confusing sentence to follow. No, I get it. Look, what I'm trying to say is I think you're definitely hitting the mark here because we know Doctor Strange is going to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home and Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. So I think it's a very likely possibility that Wanda could be in a Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene, possibly helping to set up Doctor Strange 2.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I bet you that's where their relationship starts, and that's why she's in the second Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think that's a completely reasonable theory. I think that's geez, I didn't even think of that. That's a really good point though. So yeah, for me, I don't have too great of predictions. Like, here's the thing. This is pretty out there, but I kind of mentioned that I think Billy and Tommy could be resurrected somehow. But I have like very little evidence for this, but I think that Pietro is going to be resurrected too. Not X-Men Pietro, but like MCU Pietro from Age of Ultron.
Interesting.
I think they could have been planning this all the way back with Age of Ultron. They could have been planning this WandaVision arc. Maybe not exactly in this form, but I think that with the powers of the Darkhold, not only is she going to figure out a way to maybe humanely, maybe not so humanely, resurrect Billy and Tommy, and while she's at it, why not her brother?
You make a
Her
good
real
point.
brother.
But again, that's going to come down to her intentions. What is she going to be, a good witch or a bad witch? That's what it's going to come down to. Will she
Well,
learn the
also,
rules of magic, when to let things be and play out, or
yeah, but also from a non-story standpoint, I mean, let's think about this logically. Why in the world would they introduce a superhero, a new superhero, in the same movie that they kill him off, especially with such a wide sprawling universe as the MCU?
you
And
make
I
a
think
good
they could have
point.
been planning to resurrect him at some point anyway. So,
That's smart. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So pretty good predictions. I'm definitely looking forward to the MCU. We've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out on. Do you know when that's coming out? The exact day?
March 19th, I believe.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, speaking of which, guys, that is about 2 weeks from now. So you may be thinking, oh, I can't wait for the Charles Squared podcast to cover the Falcon and the Winter Soldier in 2 weeks. But we are going to be taking a little break from Marvel just because, there's a lot of Marvel stuff coming out. We don't want to only be covering Marvel, especially for those of you who
Exactly.
may be getting tired of it or aren't the biggest Marvel fans or aren't Marvel fans at all. So we will be covering the Falcon and the Winter Soldier at some point. Don't you worry. But next week we are going to be covering Jurassic Park.
Yes. The next podcast, which is going to be 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks.
Yeah, sorry, I said next week.
You're good. 2 weeks from now, we're going to be looking back at Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and maybe making some predictions for Jurassic World Dominion, which comes out in 2022. So we hope you guys are excited for that. If you have any more specific content you want us to look into, we know that we've been doing a lot of Marvel, like Charles said, but we're always excited to go into other fields, other subjects, other types of movies and film production.
Yeah,
So,
and for you DC fans out there who may be wondering if we're going to cover the upcoming Snyder Cut of Justice League, yes, we are. I know that also comes out the week of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We will be doing a YouTube exclusive video on that, so make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you are alerted right when that comes out. Make sure you check out our new blog that we
Yes.
started a few weeks ago.
yeah, we've just got a lot of things in the works right now. We hope you guys are staying safe and keeping up to date with all these podcasts. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I'd like to thank this time to thank our consulting advisor here at the Charles Squared podcast team. Jack Rogers down in Indianapolis has been helping us out a lot recently with material and giving us a lot of insight and speculation on what he wants to see. So thank you. Big shout out to you and Clark. You guys have been holding it down there. And thank you for listening.
Yep, bye guys.
See ya.